Welcome back to the Broad Street Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chaby, and today I'll be giving you my picks for Week 8 and 5 players to start this week and 5 players to sit in fantasy football. So we're going to talk about tonight's game that's happened in about 2 hours, the Vikings and the Rams, the return of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua just got announced that he will be playing a couple hours ago. I don't think he'll make as much as impact as Cooper Kupp because I think Cooper Kupp's been practicing. But I can see this being a good game. It's in LA, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens for sure. But ultimately, I think the Vikings will win this game. I know Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are back, but still the Vikings are the more healthy team, and they're coming off a tight loss, their first of the season against the Lions. So they're looking to get another win after losing last week. So I just think the Vikings will be able to go into LA and get the win. So moving on to the Sunday games at 1 o'clock, the Packers and the Jaguars. I don't think this game will be very close. The Packers defense is very good against the Jaguars offense. It's so up and down. I feel like if the Jaguars can't get out to a fast start, this game's not even going to be close. And I have the Packers winning this game. They'll be able to sustain a nice run game, which Jacksonville cannot stop. And Jordan Love has enough targets to sling the rock all around the field, and I feel like he'll be able to do that very successfully. And for the Jaguars, it just depends if Trevor Lawrence can get it to his number one guy in Brian Thomas, and if Tank Bigsby can have another good game after he did last week against New England. But I just think Green Bay is just going to go into Jacksonville and get a very good win for them. Moving on to the next game, the Cardinals and the Dolphins. This is the return of Tua, and Tyreek Hill seems very excited about that. He's telling everyone to start him in fantasy, but he just popped up questionable, I think, about an hour or two ago. But I don't think it matters. Tua, it's great that he's back, but players returning, their first game, they always don't immediately come back crazy. And I just think that's what's going to be the difference for them. And all Cardinals are coming off a nice win, against the Chargers on Monday night, and I feel like the Cardinals are healthy. If Kyler Murray can limit the turnovers, he should be fine, and I think the Cardinals will win this game over the Dolphins. Moving on to the next game, the Jets and the Patriots. I'm not going to talk much about this game because I don't expect it to be very interesting, but I just think the Jets are going to win it because they have better talent on the roster than the Patriots do, and I think that's just all the deciding factor is going to be. So moving on to the Ravens and Browns. I don't think this game will be close either. The Ravens, they just have a great defense, and Lamar's playing on an MVP level right now, so it's really hard to stop someone who's playing like that. And for Cleveland, they finally have a different quarterback starting. Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson did get hurt, but it's happened in a way that they didn't wish it happened, but what happens. But it really is not going to make a difference. Jameis Winston's going to try his best out there, but with the limited targets he has, it's going to be tough to sustain any offense against this high-power Ravens defense, and Lamar's just going to be able to run for days all over their defense. So I have the Ravens winning in commanding fashion, maybe by about 20, 25 points. Probably maybe the biggest score margin of Week 8. Moving on to the next game, a game that was supposed to be at 4 o'clock and was flexed to 1 o'clock, the Eagles and the Bengals in Cincinnati. I expect this to be a good game. For the Eagles, they just got to keep it simple. They have to try to score in the first quarter. They can't keep struggling in the first quarter. If they keep doing that, they're not going to beat these teams later down the road. So sustaining good first quarter offense, having the defense still play up to the level they've been playing the past couple of weeks, which would be good, and just getting to Joe Burrow, containing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And for the offense, give the ball to Saquon Barkley. You saw what he did last week. It's not like it's going to change just because he was playing the Giants. He is that type of running back. So if you continue to give him the ball, he will carry your offense to great heights. So, and then just getting the ball to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, getting it to your core target guys is what's going to decide this game for the Eagles. And for the Bengals, like I said, to the opposite of what I said about the Eagles, getting the ball to your core players, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Chase Brown, Zach Moss, guys like that. And then for their defense, the Eagles' offense has been so inconsistent, but if they're fine on all cylinders on Sunday, it's going to be tough for Cincinnati to stop them because they don't have the greatest defense. But ultimately, I think this will be a very close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I have the Eagles winning this game maybe by 6-7 points. So moving on to the next game, the Texans and the Colts. This is the second matchup of the year for both of these teams. They played week 1, and the Texans won barely. It was a great game from Anthony Richardson and Joe Mixon in his Texans debut. played really well. And I think it's going to be more of the same, but a little bit more of a Texans win than it was week 1. The Texans, they're a great team. They have a great offense. I know Nico Collins is out right now, but you saw what Joe Mixon was able to do against that Colts defense, and I think he's going to do it again. I really do. He's a great running back in that offense. He's succeeding really well. And as long as C.J. Stroud can get it to Dalton Schultz, Stephon Diggs, and form some type of connection with Tank Dell, because they had nothing last week against the Packers, the Texans should easily win this game. And for the Colts, Anthony Richardson just has to keep proving that he's the answer at QB, and they don't have to put Joe Flacco in. But I don't think that's going to happen. Anthony Richardson plays too much of a hero ball. He likes to throw big plays instead of just taking the intermediate plays and getting the yards. I think that's what the deciding factor is going to be, and that's why the Texans win in the game over the Colts. The next game, the Lions and the Titans, man, there's some games this week. I don't even think it's going to be close, and this is another one right here. The Lions offense is probably the best in football right now, without a doubt. I know they lost Jameson Williams to suspension, but I don't really think it cares. Amon-Ra St. Brown, beast. I know Sam Laporta has been good, but when he's on fire on all cylinders, he's great. You got guy like Tim Patrick who's playing well. You got probably the best running back duo in the NFL with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And you have a top-tier offensive line with Jared Goff playing top-tier right now. And they're just coming off a win in Minnesota to hand the Vikings their first loss, so they have a lot of momentum, and it's in Detroit, so I don't think the Titans stand much of a chance, even if it's even who they put out there. If it's Will Levis, it might be really bad. If it's Mason Rudolph, it might be not as bad. But still, the Lions defense is going to be able to get to the Titans early and fast, and I think that's what the deciding factor is going to be. Their defense is going to just completely shut them down, and this Lions offense will have a field day against Tennessee, so I have the Lions winning that game. Moving on to the next game, the Falcons and the Buccaneers. Unfortunate for the Buccaneers, Mike Evans is out till week 11, and Chris Godwin broke his ankle, so he's out for the year. So Baker Mayfield is going to be tough to see what he can do without his top two guys in the receiving game. He's going to have to try to get it to guys like K-Dot and Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, Rashard White out of the backfield, Bucky Irvin, Sean Tucker. Guys like that are going to really have to help Mayfield. And I just think ultimately, no matter what they try to do, it's not going to work. The Falcons are coming off a bad loss against the Seahawks last week, so they're going to look to get a bounce back here, and I think they will do it. The offense is what is going to decide this game, and the Falcons' offense I just have more trust in right now than I do the Bucs, and that's why I have the Falcons winning the game. Moving on to the 4 o'clock slate now, the Saints and the Chargers. I have the Chargers winning this game probably by the score of 16-10. Both these offenses are very stagnant. There's not much traction to them, not much excitement in them. But the Chargers just have a little bit more than what the Saints have right now because the Saints have been dealing with injury. But the Chargers, I can very much see them putting more points up than the Saints offense I can right now because you got a rookie quarterback out there in Spencer Rattler. Shaheed's not playing. Olave still questionable. Alvin Kamara just got his new contract, but he hasn't looked great since week 2, and I just think that's what the deciding factor is going to be. I think that's why the Chargers will beat the Saints. Moving on to another game that looks very intriguing. The Bills and the Seahawks in Seattle. Seattle's coming off a nice win in Atlanta last week, and the Bills just destroyed the Titans. Amari Cooper's first game as a Buffalo Bill, and he had a touchdown, a nice couple catches. And I just think this game's going to be very close. It's a good thing it's a 4 o'clock game. I think it deserves to be like that. It's both two good teams, I think. The Seahawks, I know they're coming off 3 straight losses before they went against the Falcons. But still, the Seahawks, I think, will be able to keep their own. But I think Josh Allen's just going to step up to the plate and make some plays to win the Bills the game. And I see the Bills winning by maybe 3 points. I'll say 26-23. Moving on to what they hope to be the battle of the first and second pick, but with Jaden Daniels getting hurt, I don't know if that's going to happen. He hasn't practiced all week, and they're going to try to practice. They're going to try to get him to practice tomorrow, but with rib injuries, it's always tough. So, but really, I think it's going to come down to Jaden Daniels. If he's not playing, I don't think the Commanders win this game. Even if he does play, the Bears are going to go out there and try to play, and just without Jaden Daniels having a certain answer about him, I'm going to pick the Bears because I think I can put more trust to them in this game because they have everyone while the Commanders are missing their big piece in Daniels. So that's why I have the Bears ultimately winning this game because it's two close teams. It's just deciding on how the rookie quarterbacks play, and one might not even play, which is my deciding factor. So moving on to the next game, the Chiefs and the Raiders. I have the Chiefs winning this game. The Raiders are just so they're really bad right now. They really have nowhere to go. And the Chiefs, They're 6-0 because their defense is playing great. Mahomes hasn't played the greatest, but he's clutched up when he's needed to. And I just think the Chiefs, they've pretty much beat up on the Raiders the past couple years. The Raiders got them back last year, but Mahomes wasn't playing the greatest, and they kind of gave up towards the end. I think the Chiefs like last year. But the Chiefs, they're just gonna go in there and win the game, I think. Moving on to another game that's the Panthers and Broncos. I'm just gonna pick the Broncos. I think they'll just be able to put up more points really than the Panthers can. And then moving on to Sunday Night Football, the two injured teams with the Cowboys and Niners, especially the Niners with Ayuk out for the year, and who knows if Deebo Samuel will play this week. And then for the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence has already been out for a couple of weeks. He still will be, and Micah Parsons doesn't look promising for him to play this week. But ultimately, I'm just gonna pick the Niners because I think, even though their offense is really bad right now, I can put trust in their defense to stop Dak, which they've had, which is still somewhat healthy for them. And for the offense, as long as they can get the ball to Jordan Mason, if Deebo Samuel's playing, that's huge. And then you know how George Kittle likes to play against the Cowboys. He likes to eat, and I think that will be the deciding factor. And I think the Niners just squeak out a close win, maybe 2016. Moving on to Monday Night Football, Giants and Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Giants, they're coming off a week where they just got destroyed by the Eagles, and even worse, their former player, Saquon Barkley, went for over 176 yards. And I just think for the Steelers, it's going to be a cakewalk for them. Their defense is top tier, and Daniel Jones is going to have a tough time getting the ball out of his hand, especially to Malik Neighbors. And then for the Steelers, as long as they can continue to look good like they did last Sunday night against the Jets, they should be fine. And that's why the Steelers win this game. And then moving on to some players I think you should start and sit. Some players I think you should start. 5 players are DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, and Lamar Jackson. I just like all their matchups. DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, he finally seems like he's forming a connection with him, and that could be great. AJ Brown, he's a great scorer. He's Jalen Hurts' number one guy, and I feel like if the Eagles' offense is firing on all cylinders Sunday, AJ Brown could have a big game. Joe Mixon, like I mentioned when I was talking about the game, Joe Mixon had a great game against the Colts in Week 1. I don't think much changes. I think he continues to have he has another great game against them, and that's why I think you should start him. And then Justin Jefferson tonight. The Rams, the secondary isn't great, and you know that Sam Darnold loves Justin Jefferson when it comes to the connection they have. And I think that's why he'll be able to score. That's why I think he'll be able to a must start for anyone who has him in fantasy. And then Lamar Jackson, another one, like I said with Joe Mixon. He's playing the Browns, playing on MVP level. A instant start for anyone that has him. It's easy points in my opinion. Some players I think you should sit: Baker Mayfield, Malik Neighbors, Tony Pollard, Terry McLaurin, and Tank Dell. I say Baker Mayfield because he's missing his top 2 guys. I still think he's a good quarterback, but it's tough to lose your top 2 receivers and have to try to go win against a Falcons team that also lost and has everyone healthy. So I think it's a player you should sit. Malik Neighbors, I think it's going to be tough for him to get off the line of scrimmage with how aggressive the Steelers defense plays and how much of a priority is going to be set on him by that defense, especially they know how special of a player he is. And then for Tony Pollard, they're playing the Lions. The Lions play well against the run, and I think Tony Pollard won't be able to get much going, so I think he's a player you should set. Terry McLaurin, I said this because I think Jaden Daniels, not a great chance he plays, and I don't think Marcus Mariota will be able to get the ball to Terry McLaurin, so I think it's a player you should sit. And then Tank Dell, I mentioned him earlier, but I just think he hasn't, Tank Dell's week last week was he had an opportunity to shine, he didn't. It just seems like he has no connection with CJ Stroud right now. And until they can form that connection, I think it's a player that you sit until he gets the points that you need him to get. But really, other than that, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week, whatever I'll be talking about. But other than that, have a great rest of your day. See you and enjoy Thursday Night Football and the World Series tomorrow and the Sunday games on Fox, CBS, ESPN.